So I know we've talked a bit about solicitations in the workplace, but I'm telling you, I think that people that are in MLMs would be fantastic corporate recruiters.
Yeah.
I mean, it is
It's a skill
job.
set.
Yeah.
Because they will fucking find you. So I got personal experience in this. When we first moved to Australia, a very well-known skincare MLM was launching in Australia. And they know what they're doing. Their marketing end. They put up, a picture of a koala, a picture of the opera house on Facebook. Hey, everybody, do you know somebody in Australia? Who do you know? Tag a friend of a friend or send this to anybody you know in Australia. Well, I found out about this after I was like, what the fuck? I got in my Facebook DMs, I am not kidding you, and it was literally immediately when we had not been there 20 hours. And I got this thing, I'm in the temporary housing, jet lagged as
Oh my
shit,
gosh.
like a 7-page thing. Hey, mate, from I have an opportunity for you. And I was like, and then I saw, they just kept coming. Hey, girl, I know you from, you're friends with this person. All hey, girl. And again, I'm like, if you know me,
Hey,
I'm,
sis.
yeah, sis, 100%. And I'm like, if you're gonna say anything, be like, hey, bud.
Hey, sport.
It was like in total, in just the first few weeks we moved there, it was literally just happened to be like the day we did 186 messages from different people.
No.
Holy
Through
shit.
my Facebook messages, or if I counted, because I was like,
No way.
what?
Yeah, like this is getting
What?
insane.
What the heck? And I was like, I was moving with my family across the world. I was exhausted. I'm trying to set things up. I am not taking on. I have a yes face, which leads to why people might think this. But also it was like, I also had a job in the U.S. I was starting. I had like 2 weeks before I started it. But I'm like, no, I have a job. Thank you. I appreciate this. But I knew almost multiple of the American women I knew that lived there, because everyone, sadly, including me, that was in Australia that I knew that was American, was there because of their husband's job. But so multiple of them all got involved in this MLM.
Oh my gosh. And then they were recruiting you.
Because in particular, they all lived in the same area. So they were kind of fighting each other. They were.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Same
was like, they
territory.
were like the sharks and they're fighting
Yeah.
themselves. I'm like the jets. And so I was in an area that there were not as many Americans. And so they were like, I would get messages. They'd be like, hey girl, I'd love to throw a party for all your friends and do these things. And of course I can't just ignore it, or I can't because I kind of know these people. But I'm like, oh God. And so anyway, I finally came up with my line that has served me very well since then.
Oh.
Which I responded and I said, I totally appreciated it. I'm glad you're doing what you're doing, but I prefer not to commercialize my friendships.
Love it.
And that worked out very well for me.
Yeah.
And it was true. I mean, a lot more words behind it of
Yeah.
I don't want to
But
be in
that
that
was a
position
short
and
and
have
sweet.
all my
Yeah.
brand new Australian friends over who I don't know who would be like American has selling me this American product
Yeah.
and all of these things. It just made me very uncomfortable. And so if something in your gut, but in those situations, it's hard because that's the thing. But I will say it really did convince me that these situations that people in MLMs, and I know friends that I have friends that are in them, but that they should be corporate recruiters because they are
They'd kill it.
fucking honey badgers.
Yeah.
honey
They're out there hustling.
badgers.
Oh,
But anyway, that
hustling.
line has worked well for me. So if anybody's ever
Okay.
in that situation, you're not at work, so you can't lean on your no solicitation
Yeah.
policy. You're in life. That's worked well for me.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I don't
that's
think
fair,
anyone's ever asked me to do shit.
I-
That's
I'm from
good.
an MLM
You're on there
perspective.
because when people in an MLM, and I've been in
It's my
some of
face.
these, they'll make you make a list of like 10, 20, 100 people that they think would support you. I have to imagine people would know better than to put you on their list.
I mean, I definitely have not gotten 1186 in my lifetime.
I think I've been asked maybe once.
Oh my God.
But it was once too many for me.
trying to
I'm like,
think.
I'm all set.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
on a lot of lists.
Really?
A lot of people's.
Oh my
I don't think
gosh.
I see. Okay, but you have like a lot of friends, and I think
Yeah,
where Lee and I
yeah.
are like, I have like one good friend.
Yeah, same.
You know what I mean?
So if
Like,
he's
that's
not
true.
asking me
no
to
one's
be in an
fucking
MLM,
asking me.
No, that's not true. I just
and it was
lived-
a neighbor that asked
I
me.
know,
to.
I know.
Stop. I just have a
Oh,
yes
man.
face, and I've lived in a lot of places. That's my combo, to be honest with
And
you.
you have a lot of friends.
No, so anyway, but that situation, I just remember when I kept getting in it. After a
That's
while,
nuts.
I did get a bit snippy with some people, and
Ooh,
I was
I
like,
bet.
candidly, like,
Yeah.
I don't know you, and I wouldn't reach out to you about my business, so I'd ask that you not reach out to me about yours.
Ooh,
Yeah. Yeah.
dang.
And that cut that off.
I think that's really cute how you even replied.
I
know,
also,
you know what I mean?
Why? Yeah, finally, I would just ignore and block.
Yeah,
people, but
Exactly.
yes.
You got to, right? Oh my gosh.
Well, it's like I get Facebook friend requests like that. And I'm like, do I know this person? I'm like, and then I look at mutual friends and I'll be like, I mean, I knew like a couple, and then I look and I'm like, oh, they want to sell me something. I'm like, no, thank you.
Well,
yeah.
like in that Facebook
You can see 'em coming.
and my personal Instagram is something I've always been very guarded about.
Yeah,
like
yeah, same.
I think I only have like 200 Facebook friends because like I literally keep it inner circle people like that. I would genuinely talk. Most of actually our family, but I don't for that very reason. Like I don't care that we hung out one night. And you like, I'm not gonna. I'm
It was a
not.
great
I would
night,
probably
but-
Facebook friend. I'd be
Yeah,
like,
see,
I'm a friend request.
Like, I'm not going
Like, oh,
to.
God.
I'm not. Like, I'm just
Yeah,
not. And
gotcha.
I guess because I want to keep, especially now that I've been doing social media for almost
Yeah,
4
you
years,
have
is
to
like I want to
Yeah.
keep my personal life private.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I might talk about like my children or my
Yeah.
husband, but I'm not. You're not going to be my friend on my private.
Yeah.
So you're not going to ask me to join your MLM.
No. But anyway.
I don't even have private socials.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
you just have
so
the
I guess-
manifesto.
Yeah, I guess I don't even have an outlet for people to
Yeah.
MLM me.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm trying to think, like why is no one asking me to
Yeah.
sell leggings or skincare
Oh
or
gosh, yeah.
There's a good
Please don't.
documentary.
I'm just
There's
kidding.
Yeah,
a great
that-
documentary.
so good.
That
LuLaRoe
LuLaRoe
one.
one. I know. Well,
Yeah.
my mom did get me a pair of those that actually lasted for. I mean, I just got rid of those like recently. I've had those for 7 years. But
They're
there's
buttery soft.
Oh my god! But that documentary.
Yeah.
I
was
never
really-
actually owned a pair.
It's terrifying.
But the documentary said that. So.
Terrifying.
Exactly. Whew,
Okay.
gosh. Well, on that note, right? I guess we will transition and kick off this meeting. Quick rundown of our agenda today. Let's see. We are going to start with some cringe corporate speak, and that is going to be brought to us by Jamie. And then we will transition into our hot topic today, which is all about green flags in the workplace. Yes, believe it or not, there are some great things that happen at work, some feel goods, right? Some leaders and people just doing wonderful things out there. We have experienced that. So shout out to all that. We'll talk about some of those things today. And then of course, before our hard stop, we will move into some questions and comments. We got to make sure we get those in before we close, before Jamie's hard stop.
Jamie leaves us. She claims she's
Yes,
going to
before
the bathroom,
Jamie
and then we're
sneaks
like,
out.
she left, and we see her peeling away in the parking lot.
I do love a good Irish exit, an
bet
Irish
you
goodbye.
do.
That is
Yeah, I
my
do
thing.
them.
They used to call me in college. They used to call me Phantom Fro, my maiden
Oh,
name.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're just in and out. You'd like,
no, I would
you're
never
just
say
like,
bye to anyone. I would literally I'd be like,
disappear.
yes, Phantom Fro is what they called me.
Oh gosh. Well, good thing to know, right? Mentally note that
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
Jamie.
right.
When I wanted to go home, I wanted to go
Yeah,
home.
for real.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
got
I mean?
Yeah, we all do. We all do.
Jamie, kick us off, please. What's our
Yeah,
cringe
so our
corporate
cringe
speak?
corporate speak today is off the rails.
Oh,
So I know I'm guilty of definitely using this like
Yeah.
in meetings or even like when I'm counseling an employee and they start going off the rails and I'm like, all right,
You're going off the
You're
rails.
going
you're
off the
going off the rails, bitch.
That's-
Yeah.
It tends, whenever someone's having an episode and they're not doing so well, it's really
They love
a best
to hear
friend.
that.
They love
Yeah,
it. They
tell them you're going off the fucking rails, reel it in.
You need to calm down.
Oh yeah,
Whole
no, that has
They
never
love
worked
that.
well for me.
I love that.
It also with spouses, it does not work so well
No.
for my husband when he
Yes,
suggests I
yes, same thing.
calmed
Husband, take note. He has my husband has unfortunately told me that.
Oh,
I need
really?
to calm down and
You're going off the rails?
yeah, and
He's
and-
used cringe corporate speak on you?
Oh yeah, for sure. But I definitely.
But in his defense, I was going off the rails.
yeah, or someone tells me to take it down a notch.
Oh, yeah.
I can
I
guarantee
go up.
Yeah.
I go
I'm
up
gonna
75
yeah.
notches.
don't fucking try
Octaves.
to denotch me.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, no, that's
Uh-huh.
right.
But off the rails. So let's try to sneak that in to today's.
It's
episode.
trains.
I mean, I
It's
guess
trains.
It's
Yeah,
trains.
I know, but I'm
like
just-
you want to stay on track.
Yeah.
So you're on a
staying
track as a train.
And if we're not
Watching
trying
some
to-
dark
Well,
history
yeah, I
about
know.
it. Because to me,
Like
it's
some
like
military
Thomas, they're
jargon.
home for real. You know, it's like someone whipped their dick out and whatever, like something
Oh,
all dark.
You know what though? I will say the origin was from Sir Walter Scott in 1828. He used this in a letter, and he said, "The Duke of Clarence has gone off the rail completely." And that's it. So the Duke,
They lost their marbles?
Yeah, that's right.
Kind of the
Basically.
same,
It is,
right?
but yeah,
Yeah,
it is. It's
yeah,
trains,
the
which
same.
makes sense.
It does, right? Because
Yeah.
we're on the track,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and now we're just off.
And now we're off the rails.
Yeah.
which are
Or
train
off
tracks.
the chains in my case. Okay.
Off the rails.
Yeah.
I don't really use that one. I can't think of a time I have.
I've definitely said
I haven't really heard it up. Well, that's
Derailed.
different.
Yeah.
Meeting. It's not. It's the same. Derails off the rail
Yeah, I know, but it's not off the rails.
as a person. Yeah, generally saying anybody's like, you're not doing what I expect you to do does not work out. So
Yeah,
well.
you're off
they
the
don't,
rails.
they
You
don't
just
like
better
that.
just pick back up another day.
Yeah,
Just
they
let's
don't
just,
like
just circle back on that.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't like that. But what do they like? Wonderful transition
Yeah.
to green flags
I'm
in
wearing a
the
green shirt, too.
workplace.
You are a
right?
green HR baddie shirt.
Yeah,
Some
didn't
of-
even
Yeah,
plan it.
shout out,
Merch.
shout out,
Yeah,
right?
it's good.
So, we talk a lot about red flags and our contents, right? I mean,
Mhm.
people on social, they like to focus on that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
And in their defense and our defense, it is a lot of what
Yes.
it is going
Yeah,
on.
here we are.
Yeah, there's a lot of that,
Plenty to
but
pick from.
sometimes things go right at work,
Mhm.
So I'm curious, kick us off perhaps on, something green that you've seen at work. Do we want to talk about green flags of managers, like wonderful manager behaviors?
I think any manager that is supportive, and I know I use this a lot, but I cannot tell you how much flexibility is taken for granted in so many places. And I'm constantly reminding leaders, but having managers that are flexible with me and trust
Mhm.
psychological safety. These are just a few green flags that are coming top
yeah.
of mind that are probably
Yeah.
some of the most important things I look for if I'm looking for a new job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it when leaders are like, I do not need to approve your vacation.
Yeah.
Like, you
Mhm.
take vacation
Right.
when you
Mhm.
need to.
Yeah.
Just let me know.
Yeah.
Just let me know so I don't bother you.
Mhm.
Love that. To me, that is
Yeah.
Yeah.
the brightest green flag, Literally, just make me aware because I don't want to bother you
Mhm.
at all,
Right.
And so just put it in my calendar. Totally fine. Always
Yeah.
approved. You do you and what
Yeah.
you need to
Mhm.
do. And I'm totally supportive of that,
And the coworkers, I know I've talked previously about when you take vacation, then that's okay. Your leader supports it. But is your leader going to do your work while you're on vacation? Sometimes they will. And sometimes that's a great trait of a manager if you can help out and do that
Mhm.
so that things are less busy. But also as a manager, a lot of people aren't going into management because it can feel so daunting. And so if
Mhm.
you have a full workload and then are doing everyone's work when they're taking vacation and all that,
Mhm.
it can be overwhelming. And so some of it as a manager is teaching people to tell people it's going to be later. So people don't just feel like they have to, work extra before and after the vacation. So they're actually working as much,
Oh, I
just
know.
not during. But some of that is also those coworkers of from the green flag of having coworkers that you trust. I've mentioned a coworker I had where we were both in legal and again had access to each other's email. And she would fill in for me and I'd fill in for her.
That's cool.
And so
Yeah,
the
that is cool.
I remember going on vacation and not taking my laptop. And I tried to respond to something, and she was like, "Girl, I got this.
Yeah.
Like, please."
Don't you dare.
She's like,
Yeah.
"You better not send me anything other than this was selfies weren't a thing there, but I think a picture we were going skiing, and so it
Yeah.
was a 4-day trip, or it wasn't even long. Sending me a picture of the skiing, and that I will never forget that because. I came back and we caught up on things and she'd copied me on things or forwarded me things. So I knew,
Yeah.
so again, I didn't come back and try to just jump back into the work
Yeah.
and there wasn't a miscommunication, but it's that level, having the combination of when you've had a manager that supports you and colleagues you can trust and you enjoy working with those people.
Mhm.
For me,
Mhm.
ooh, that is lightning in a bottle. But it comes down to communication and trust for me. It's because it's not one, it's not, it's been across all demographics, ages, all of those things. I think it's the baseline of communication and trust and fostering that within your team. Ooh, magical shit.
Mhm.
That is beautiful. And it really does leak over to morale, engagement, right? When you have those, you feel so much more comfortable doing things with the team, whether it's lunch or events or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Like you actually get to a point where it's like, oh my God, I actually like these people. I want to do things with these people. Like how weird is that?
You do.
You know what I mean?
Well, then, and
But
then
you
like,
do,
well, then
you
like
know?
I was in legal, which like we would like joke because we would like, but like,
Do we like each other?
Our boss would be having a shitty day, and we'd be like, let's all go look at a good YouTube and like laugh, and like we'd be cracking up over something like literally like dumb, but like we'd laugh about that. But also like I was in legal, and so we'd say like there's a lot of darkness that comes in. You got to bring the light, but we would also bring that level to the people we worked with. Like a lot of times people called us really with HR type of questions. But we would have conversations, and I wasn't like, well, let me quote this paragraph of the handbook. I'd be like, okay. And like, I would talk much like I talk to you all. And I'd be like, and they'd be like, well, this person, I'd be like, okay, well, there's a reason that you're where you are, and they're where they are, and they're starting their career. They don't know the things you know, and they haven't been enlightened, and they're not talking to educated professionals like us. And we're laughing, and I'm like, okay, so let's meet them where they are and think about shit. And they'd be like, oh my God. And like at the holidays, we would get like, gifts and shit like that. And we'd be like, it was, but like all that, what I remember is that feeling of like, we did good work. We had so much fun. We were award winning, that department. We won an award.
Ooh, shout out.
Yeah, that's right. But I just remember this feeling of like that exactly bled over into who I was and the level of professional support I brought. And it really, it was phenomenal.
It makes a difference in the workday, doesn't it? Because to that point, I remember being so close with a particular HR team in my career that we would host, and lead big events, and we would, decorate the office like crazy, like, Halloween threw up in there or whatever, you know what I mean? Like we would we would come together doing those things and like everyone was participating and it was just like neat. Typically there may be onesie twosies where they don't want to engage, and that's why no, this was like, just a high powered, like the team was in rhythm and in sync, and what an awesome office, to actually, enjoy each other like while working. What the heck?
I know. Like I actually don't mind going to work.
What?
I think also the big joke on social media is Sunday scaries, right?
Yes,
But
absolutely.
I've had jobs where I don't have Sunday. Like I didn't actually dread going to work.
Tell me about that.
Mondays. Like
expand, please.
Yeah, like
say more.
Say more.
Like you actually not only do you enjoy the work you're doing, like you feel like maybe you're making a difference or you're making an impact, but you also enjoy the people you're working with. And you I think another thing is transparency, right? I'm talking from the leaders down, right? And I think those are always the companies the places that I have been the most successful, because I have felt safe to be myself. I'm a little bit off the rails. And
Kudos.
and I am a big personality, and I always have been, and I don't ever want I don't want to shush anyone for having a personality, and I don't want to be shushed or shunned. So feeling safe to be myself, but have everyone feel safe to be themselves in a work environment.
Well, I've been in organizations where I would not say that the leadership had the same type of like fun and mirth that like my department had, even if I was in legal or HR. And at times that can be really hard. And it's really hard, I think, for the leader of that department. Of like, how do you balance that and the pressure? Am I going to be judged for like laughing and doing these things and treating my team differently? But I think a lot of times as a leader, one of the things you can do is figure out like, what can I do within the bounds to like, and I think sometimes people will say, what if you're in an organization that has shitty policies? And we've had some comments or things on that about going to God and running, and sometimes that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
And that's always an option, and sometimes the right one, often the right one maybe. But sometimes it's like, okay, where can we have flexibility? And even like in HR, one of the biggest things, and I know we've talked about this, we've all done it, is to influence, to change policy, to show why things don't make sense. And there's a lot of ways you can do that from that business sense. But sometimes it's even saying amongst your team of like, all right, this is what we're going to do, and having that manager. Like I love when people talk about like retail managers in particular that will say like, there may be somebody from corporate that's coming that's like a pain, that visit, and they'll say, what am I going to do? They'll say today, like, we are doing things, and there's times where we like this corporate policy doesn't make sense, and I can't influence this. We don't have to do it today. We're gonna have to do it, and we're gonna have to. And today I'm gonna, we're gonna have. But like, I got you, and I'll influence
We're
what
in
I
this
can
together.
Yeah, this together, and having that. And so I think a lot of times those field-based environments, like you really have a lot of opportunity to do what it takes, and telling your team like, okay, look, today we're gonna need to like stand a little bit straighter and just so we all stay employed and get that bonus, but but is like finding what you can do to flex things a little bit and give some of that grace and space.
I'd say a big glaring parade of green flags for me, our organizations, because I'm thinking about the green flags, in places I've worked before, those that put resources, time, effort, definition around communications.
Yeah.
That is so important, because I've been a part of a lot of toxic workplaces, a ton of toxic workplaces and departments and teams and whatever. And, I can always connect that toxicity back to the lack of information. Right? Like it always comes back to that. And in the absence of information, what do people do? They assume the worst and they start gossiping. They start filling in the blanks. They start weaponizing gossip. And then they're hoarding information but it's all around information, because really information is power, right? Like, and that is so not cliche. That's literally the truth. And that is collateral and currency in a workplace, right? And so green flags, and some of the places that I've worked are those where you really feel this connection to the leadership. They're out there. They're, they're boots on the ground, right? To quote a previous cringe speak, right? They're connecting with employees, like, they're present, they're approachable, like as all get out, right? And they're doing things like, all hands, newsletters, emails, like, they're just, you could ask them anything. Then that there's some authenticity and genuineness in their answers. And no one has to guess what's next for the business. Everyone knows what the business even mission is, or where we're going goals wise. All that shit is so important. Otherwise, everyone's just making everything up. And then they're weaponizing it like crazy to get ahead.
I think that's also super important for HR professionals. You said authenticity. I think that's why I've been so successful at my roles, is because I am authentic. And I think that's when you gain the trust of employees, and we understand that HR is demonized. We still hear it daily on our TikToks and our social media channels. But there are good ones out there, and we try to be authentic, and we truly are there to be employee advocates. But those are the big green flags too, is when you have any HR issue, is having to really feel like your issue will be taken care of because that person listened, you feel heard. Like I had someone earlier this week come in and they were upset and they were venting to me. And I said, I stopped her and I said, hey, I just really want you to know I really appreciate you telling me this. And she started to cry. Like she didn't feel like she could tell anyone this piece of information. I'm like, no, I'm serious. Like I genuinely appreciate, because I can't fix it if I don't know about it.
Yes. It is so true. And it takes so much, like the trust you establish by having this genuineness of character. Yeah. Look how far that goes to where someone felt safe to come to a scary office up front or wherever to talk to HR, which is stereotypically scary. And
set up
that's
a meeting
huge.
with big old bad HR. Yeah.
It's huge. That's a major green flag that she felt safe to do that, Yeah. Kudos to you.
I think the last one I can think of is really autonomy, which is
that's a good one.
Which is about meaning like making decisions to do things. And one, there's that kind of is bookended on two things. Before that, you have to have the training to know,
of course.
Training and communication to know what's expected of you. What does your job entail? What are your goals at the end of the day? But then also being able to go and plan your day and do things and make decisions and be able to ask for help when you need it. get that feedback so that you may get those pointers that you may not be seeing, that feedback that you need without micromanagement. But then also when you do something, if things go right, oh my, this is great. The celebration of that.
Yeah,
How can we
that's a
spread
big
this
one.
around? And then things go wrong, which they will sometimes. The feeling in the pit of your stomach shouldn't be worse than what really is happening. And so that, like, it's okay. I mean, I've had that conversation so many times with people that I've been managing, that they're like, and the best thing I've had is people generally, when they make a mistake, they come to me and we talk about it, and they're not afraid.
Exactly.
Because they know. I'm
Exactly.
like, and just knowing, okay, all right, that's all right. We'll learn from it. Oh, there's financial ramifications. Like, like, we will figure it out. But you know what? It's also a lot less ramifications than we'd have if you never did anything at all. And so I just think that autonomy and trust, giving those boundaries, there's so many things. And you notice in the theme on these is a lot of things. We're not talking about budget and resourcing. These are things that are completely free for people to do.
Yep.
And so bringing some of those in, it can be hard. And if you've been a leader and you haven't been doing these things, or you've seen managers not doing that, you can't flip it all overnight. But working on these things, I just think creates places that people want to stay and do good jobs.
Yeah. Like you mentioned a word there that I think is another big green flag, and that's celebration.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Taking the time to actually enjoy successes, wins, celebrating, having some levity, with the gratitude and appreciation back. That is a massive green flag that a lot of organizations, sadly, they do not take time to do.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, we got this 50,000 million jabillion dollar deal. Good for us. And let's just keep on going. Yeah. Gosh, what about all the people that made that happen?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like there's like the Sephora example. The Sephora example that was a couple months ago where they hit whatever billion in revenue. Yeah, and they sent everybody a stale sugar cookie. And on one semblance, you know what? It was better than nothing.
True.
Yeah.
But yes,
yeah.
It's when you have that level of target, and again, there's a ton of, but like having it and being that genuine levels of recognition, and it's, I think, and because one of the things I've seen lately on social media, and we talk about this sometimes, it's like, pay people. And compensation is fair compensation, and is really needed at work, and incentive compensation and paying people, but rarely can you pay someone enough to compensate for a workplace where people feel worse about themselves by working there. Yeah. And pay is not the only component of a job. And everybody, and also, we have things where people say, nobody at work wants anything other than pay. Well, that's not true. That's not true. And in saying that comes from, I've seen people that have been in leadership positions saying that. I've made videos talking about that. I think that comes from a place of privilege that's also not realizing there are people that have their identity in what they do. Not their identity, but they take a lot of pride in it. And for them, they want to have an experience where they feel good at work. And the choices shouldn't be to get paid or get respected. You should be able to do both. And some people want to take part in the things like the celebrations and have like the food, like you talk, like building that sense of community. Yeah. Like your life, work is a part of your life. But a lot of times people can choose to make that aspect of their life a really good one, where people remember that. So
a green flag is connection.
Yes.
It is beyond pay. It's really a connection, right? I mean, because that's what inspires like great work, and it gives people purpose and the opportunity for impact. Yeah. People really do want connection. They don't want to work make a ton of money in isolation, you know what I mean, without guidance or a goal or whatever, you know. And so that is really key. But that is a huge green flag when an employer can provide that,
Yeah, but do not make me do it after work hours. Celebrate me while I'm getting paid for this shit. You know what I'm saying?
But I think, but some of it is like also making it like having some of those opportunities for things, but having it optional, but truly optional, so people don't feel pressure. Like some of these things, like I know teams I've seen that have had like parties and they'll have like a red carpet and sometimes their partner, their spouse comes along and they dress up and there's people that is, or you have like the weekend, like the weekend, like people, like I this video I saw, people don't want to do carnivals. Well, you know what? I've actually been to amusement parks and people take their kids
Yeah.
and they love that because then their
Yeah.
kids see the coworkers' kids and they may
Yeah.
see them twice a year and these kids are running around. They consider them friends. And I've seen the value that those people have. Oh, well, just pay people more so they can arrange that themselves. Well, they're probably not going to do that. And so you can pay people appropriately, but also those events, there's times when that can be a real moment for people. So having that optional to have no touch at all on people's promotion or things like that. But it's discounting the value of that is a huge miss.
It's like when the companies that have the happy hours that are like, you're voluntold to go to happy hour, but I've got to get all the way back to my part of town before 6:00 when daycare closes. Like I can't go to voluntold happy hour time.
Totally agree.
But yeah, like, I can think of a company I worked for where we did an employee picnic on a Saturday or Sunday, and we would provide each employee 4 tickets to a water park. And we had a common tent that you could all put your shit down.
Yeah.
And we had a buffet
Probably
that
catered
ran for
lunches.
2 hours.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you weren't forced to interact with anyone.
Right.
You would come eat your lunch, but really everyone and their families were
going having a day.
Yeah, they're having a day. And that was honestly perfect because it was a day that families could all come together and you could interact, but you also didn't have to, and you got food for it, and that was.
I've done that at sports games like that. When they have in everybody, it's not just. I don't like it also when it's like only the senior leadership.
Oh yeah,
don't
get me started on that.
And so when you have things, and so this was open to everybody truly and their families, but we were like a huge sweet thing at the Braves game, and pay people. And okay, well, even if I got paid however much that costs, I'm not going to spend my money on that. But when we went, same, my colleagues and their kids, and it was a total blast. And I chose to do that. And I think it's great. Other people may not. But I just think you can tell when people have had really shitty work environments when they're like, you can't trust anybody at work. I never want to see my coworkers. I don't want to do anything at work ever with any of my coworkers. And I can understand completely why people would say that. But I think when people are in that situation where for the first time they have that connection and trust at work and enjoy what they're doing, it can absolutely change your life.
Yeah. And it all starts with one step. So it's like you have to, so if you're out there and you're listening and you're like, gosh, well, I did something and it was a big bomb and everyone was just like, why didn't you just give us this? Or why didn't you do this? Yeah. You know what? Just try it again. Yeah. Right. I mean, you warm them up to this, you know what I mean? You keep going, right? Keep inspiring people, keep trying to build that connection, right? Keep appreciating, keep showing gratitude, even if they're not showing it to you, because there is someone whose lives you did change. The kids and the family that would never be able to get to the water park, would never be able to carve that time or that payout or whatever, right? I mean, you gave people experiences and feelings that meant a lot, so pat yourself on the back. Don't let that one person that was like, I hated the food, because there's always that person, okay?
Always that person.
Ass. So do not worry about that. You know what I mean? Please, don't let that deter you from continuing to create green flag experiences in your workplace, right? Those green flag experiences are totally worth fighting for and doing, regardless of the naysayers in the bunch, So it'll be okay, right? It'll work out, there'll be a whole bunch of people loving it and, never having whatever opportunity or experience that you're providing there. So kudos to you if you're a manager or an HR person out there that's investing your time in those things.
Love that.
Yeah. All right. Well, gosh, I just feel so uplifted after a green flags conversation. Oh my God, I spend most of my time in the red flag space.
I feel like a winner.
Teaching people how not to be. Well, to that point, let's transition, because we do have a hard stop, to some questions and comments. What do we got?
I had a question, but I feel like it might bring us down. I was going to ask, what is your biggest red flag? Not necessarily for that you've experienced per se, but what would you say is your biggest red flag in a company?
Yeah, I've shared a lot of my red flags, but I'd say, just a kind of a funny one, kind of a cheeky one, is I worked at an organization and it was remote. And so for the first time I got to visit the workplace. And when I visited that workplace, the headquarters, for the first time, I noticed that they had an employee of the month wall. And I thought, how great is that there's an employee of the month wall, until I looked more closely and it was the CEO's picture in every single month on that wall.
Ain't no fucking way.
Yes, I promise. I have photos of it. And that was him, because sociopathic narcissist, just, being a cheeky
Luke.
fuck. Just
Yeah,
a very rude,
that is
cheeky
Luke.
fuck. You know what I mean? So,
I'm
yeah,
appalled.
we didn't really
I'm
get along.
gaping my mouth
We
open.
didn't really.
Yeah, I'm appalled.
Oh my
we didn't
God.
go
But
far,
also,
and nor
like,
did
not
he.
surprised.
Right, I
sadly.
can see it. I can see it. I can see it so perfectly.
And honestly, I've worked at places where we've had employee of the month, and all the nominations get put up, but,
Ooh,
but the
noms.
person who actually picks them is the fucking CEO, and she has her
Yeah.
favorites.
Yeah. See, I was surprised that you even had nominations for that process. I was like, well, typically
I'm
it's just
not
a leader
huge
picking.
fan, honestly,
Nope.
of employee of the month.
well, they always we
Because
joke
they're-
about it because they always leave. Like it was like the trigger.
Exactly,
Like it was
yeah.
like we had like 4 in a
Yeah.
row where like the people left. And we're
Yeah,
like, oh
I'm
geez,
I'm just not a huge fan
like-
of them.
but
I
for-
me
But for
personally.
years,
I
the
like it,
same
but it's-
person.
yeah.
getting
Yeah,
the
yeah.
employee.
I like it when it's. I like it for the
But
refugees.
as long as he thought it was funny, I guess. Gross.
My red flag is the phrase this isn't a 9 to 5, like
Oh,
disparaging
yeah.
9 to 5, like in
yes.
interviews when people
Yeah.
are, well, this isn't a 9 to 5. Well,
Mhm.
okay, was it 8:45 to 5?
Yeah, like what are we talking
That's
here?
I don't like when just people
Exactly. What are we
disparage,
talking here?
because to me that tells me a lot about your respect for work-life boundaries and
Yeah.
the way that all of that. So
Oh,
I don't
absolutely.
I don't like it. So if people
That's
say that,
an
which
ick.
I think about, okay, why not?
Yeah.
What's the problem with that? And
Mhm.
curiously, so
I think this one is a hard to spot it, like per se in the process. You have to be already unfortunately employed with the company, is like, but to have a micromanager.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Oh God, that's really the worst. I mean, what a
yeah.
like who's stalking your team status?
It's like they get message the team and then call. Did you get my email?
yeah,
It's,
Oh.
well, how'd you do that? Why would you do it that
Yeah.
way?
that
Yeah,
always
that's terrible.
It's a real buzzkill, you know.
Yeah.
What do you got, Ashley?
Well, I was just wondering, quick, like what, like a good work event that you did, like a neat, interesting, like quick
Oh,
work
yeah.
event that you went to.
We used to do back in the day, another employer, rent out a water park, a very big water park, famous water park. I think the largest in the world, or it's up there, Schlitterbahn in Texas.
Okay.
But
go.
Yeah.
it's huge, it's massive, and it's expensive.
Yeah,
And we'd rent
maybe
that
not.
out for the day and
Okay.
just have like the entire company there, which was a 6-figure sort of event.
Yeah.
Right.
And of course, to the previous conversation, people are like, oh, well, why can't we all just get $500 bonuses? Well, actually, you all do get that too,
Yeah.
at the end of the year.
Right, yeah.
But we are about trying to create connections and experiences and opportunities for people. And there would be employees crying, right? Like people with like 8 kids, like they would
Yeah.
never have access to that.
Yeah.
Literally, grown men crying.
Mhm.
Thank you so much that I got to gift my family this.
Yeah, it's a cool.
It like
it's
makes
cool.
me tear up.
It is, but it's
a
true. It is.
thing.
I remember to this day. I've told you when I grew up, like both my parents finished their bachelor's degrees. Like we were not doing a lot of things like that, and when we got to do something, even like a minor league baseball game,
Oh,
like
it's huge.
Yeah.
something like
No,
that, or
it's-
see
yeah.
them, like
It really is.
it is a big win for
Mhm.
sometimes your kids to
Yeah.
see that and see how you're respected at work or here. And if you're a leader, when you see your family members at those events, tell your employees' kids something you're proud of about their
Mhm.
parent. Whew, oh my God, I have tears.
Oh, I know.
I saw that. I was saying my dad had just retired recently, and
Mhm.
people talked about the things that he did, and it was like,
Oh, yeah.
oh my God, like it was amazing.
I know. So
Yeah.
it gives that opportunity for that.
It
And
is.
it's creating connection,
Totally.
connectivity between employee
Real.
and their families that are the most meaningful most of the times to
Mhm.
them and their
Most of the
workplace.
time.
And their workplace, and it's making it, and it's making it personal. And
Yes,
this is
but
called
it is. But
psychology.
having
Okay,
that- yes.
Having
I
that-
bring my
having
nerd
that-
background here. It's a
Absolutely.
thing, and it's worth investing
Absolutely.
in. It
Yeah.
absolutely is.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Still makes me tear up though.
My favorite event is actually one that when I was working in hospitality, and me and the HR manager put on, where we rented out a bunch of inflatables,
Oh,
and
love.
we
You're so fun.
we booked the grand ballroom, and we just like blocked off the afternoon to have employees like bounce
Bounce it out.
inflatables. And I can't tell you. It was just like so much fun and
Totally.
love
laughing.
that.
I mean, even like a 6-year-old cook bouncing, like he was just having a ball.
Did you have waivers signed?
Here comes Laura
God.
Ashley.
No, we did not.
Okay.
I'll share a picture on our stories. I do have a photo of one of the bounce houses. This was like, God, 2009. I mean, it was quite a
Right.
long time ago. It was on my BlackBerry, so it's a little.
That's,
Oh yeah.
Say no more.
Yeah, it's a little not
we
so
hear
great.
you.
But that was it. It was so simple to us in the moment when we
Oh
were
my God.
planning it,
Yeah.
but it turned out so much better
I'm sure.
than what we ever imagined. Like just seeing
yeah, that's-
people just like kick off their shoes
that's
and
fun.
like hop in a bounce house, you know?
Just be joyful and
Yeah.
childlike,
Yeah.
right?
That's awesome.
Free.
That's
Love
awesome.
that.
I'll say mine briefly. So I had worked at a radio company, and I'm a huge fan of the band AWOL Nation. They sing "Sail" like da, da, da,
Sail!
yeah. And I, on 2 occasions, had tickets to their concert and didn't get to go. One, I had tickets and I had to get my wisdom teeth out, and so I
Oh.
was all fucked up, couldn't go. The second, I had tickets, went to the concert. My friend tried to go in. I bought them on StubHub, and they were like, no, these tickets were already scanned. I later found out from StubHub, they're like, no, you should have called us. We can get you into, but the people at the door didn't tell me. They're like, these are
Well,
are
yeah.
fake tickets. I'm like, I literally bought them on StubHub, and StubHub actually
Oh
did a
my
very
God.
nice job of making it right. And so if you ever have this happen, call your ticket broker. Anyway, but I was so bummed, and so I talked to this guy at work, and I was like, I'm a huge fan, and so. So one night he was like, oh, we're going to do this work dinner. I'm like, okay. And he's like, all right, meet here at the bar. So I go, and I hadn't realized. So I walk up into this bar, and he's sitting there with Aaron Bruno, who's the lead singer of AWOL Nation. And AWOL Nation was performing in Atlanta at this like, and it wasn't like a AWOL Nation festival.
Yeah,
It was like a Atlanta
Private
festival.
event.
Oh,
It was like an Atlanta festival. So I hadn't realized like whatever. And so we were at the bar, and so of course he's like, "This is our lawyer," and then of course I
Oh
like
my
so like oh, I'm
God.
such
I'm
a
a
dork.
lawyer.
I don't know, it would have been worse than lawyer or HR. I mean, just say I'm in
Right.
marketing or like an intern. I was like whatever.
Colleague.
But we sat there, and so we had less of an awkward conversation as I was afraid. But it was awesome. So I have a picture with him, and so then we went to we got to go see the AWOL Nation concert, and I love AWOL Nation, and so that was like to me, which is like a work like
Meaningful.
just very thoughtful, and he knew how special that was.
That is very cool.
So it was
That
cool.
is totally
was very thoughtful.
I
Yeah,
know.
it was
I
very-
love that when people
yeah.
pay attention. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly. And like, because I'd been in his office, and he knew I'm a big music
Can
person.
any of y'all
Oh,
pull
the
strings to
appreciation.
let me meet little Kim?
Yes,
I know,
sure.
right?
I'll do whatever.
Gosh.
Or
it takes.
Megan the Stallion,
Yeah.
please.
Oh gosh, I know. Mentally noted.
Yeah, Lee will do that. She's good at the mental notes.
Let me
She's very
slide into
thoughtful,
some
gift giver.
DMs. Zach.
Very
All right. Well, no questions for me, but just a couple quick comments.
Okay.
The first is obviously we're talking about events. That's a great question. Show appreciation to the people that are organizing and coordinating the events. Spoken
For
as someone who has
real.
done that, it is actually
Yes.
a shit ton of work, and
Yeah,
it
I
is.
can see people in my
Yes.
mind shaking their heads.
and
Yes,
you hear
as
so
they
much of
listen
the
to this.
negative, and
You
this is what
do.
went wrong.
Keep it to your fucking self, okay?
No,
or roll it in
for
some
real.
sugar with
Like-
your feedback. Don't
Yeah.
just bitch. Give
Yeah.
something
It's
constructive.
so
You know what I
so
mean?
true.
Yeah.
Because people, this is part of our livelihoods, right? Is we
We're trying.
build experiences and connections,
Yeah.
right? Across the entire employment journey. And so when you're degrading and when you're a big dick like
Mhm.
that, boy,
Yeah.
does it actually sting and it hurts. And
Yeah.
I've had colleagues cry, and I just feel, oh gosh, so just give some shout out and appreciation for people doing some of that on
Mhm.
your teams,
Yeah.
because it is definitely
It's a lot of work.
it is so much work.
And it takes months of planning.
Yeah, months and months,
Yeah.
almost a year sometimes,
Mhm.
depending on the event. Like it can be a lot, right?
Mhm.
And then the other quick comment that I had is if you do see and recognize green flags in your workplace, like call them out. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because then they
Good
will
call.
perpetuate.
Very
You know
good
what I
call.
mean? Reinforce it and give it some love and be like, oh my gosh, what a green flag.
Yes.
Look at you. I know we always talk about red flags, but what a green flag.
Yeah, I
like,
love
please
it.
continue that. Love that behavior for you.
Yeah, love that.
Right? I mean, and that's culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Culture is just a collection of accepted behaviors. And so when you start reinforcing all the good things, then you will see the returns of the good things. And it is a beautiful thing when you see the returns of the great. And so that will come. You can build that green flag workplace you've always dreamed of.
I love that. Awesome.
Oh, I love that for us. Oh, what a positive, like, oh gosh, you know, I feel like I'm on a little cloud.
Come back next time.
Yeah. Next week on HR Besties.
The worst thing, you'll never believe.
lightning strike.
You'll never believe what happened next.
Dum, dum, dum. I love that segue. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
And to that point, we'll head off to our next meeting so that you can too. Thanks for joining us.